Welcome to Let's Talk About Sonic, the podcast where we talk about Knuckles the Echidna. Huh? What? I mean, Sonic's here too. I'm Crepe.
I'm Mitt.
And we're interested in talking about what happened to Sonic the Hedgehog kind of in and around the main games in the 90s, but we're not talking about the Game Gear Master System stuff yet. That's a different subject. There's still some loose ends on the Genesis and on peripherals around it, and kind of two different ideas of what Sonic the Hedgehog was or could be at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know, we can kind of lay it out right here. We could take it as it comes, but the big things here are Sonic Spinball and Knuckles Chaotix. Spinball is an interesting one because it was developed entirely in the US. I mean, so was Sonic 2, but Sonic Spinball was developed entirely by a US team. Nobody who had existing positions at Sonic Team in Japan or anything. And they worked mostly off ideas of what Sonic was in other US media, such as the cartoons. And I don't know about the comics. The comics came that same year, so probably not.
Yeah, because Sonic Spinball is the big game that is basically the SatAM tie-in. Like I don't know how else to describe Sonic SatAM as the adventure-y one compared to Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog's cartoony one.
Yeah, it's the one that tried to be serialized.
Yeah, colloquially known as SatAM because it aired on Saturday in the morning. And the characters from that show cameo in Sonic Spinball, and they also are like the title characters of the Archie comics, which are based off of the SatAM characters. So
it just comes back to SatAM.
Yeah, it all comes back to SatAM, which, fun fact, I'm pretty sure Sega owns those characters, which is why, like, post-reboot, they kept all the Freedom Fighters around. It's because just Sega owns those characters.
Yeah, unlike a lot of other characters that were introduced in the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people associate them with the comics cast just because the comics had more of a reach and obviously a longer presence than the cartoons ever did.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But yeah, Spinball is like the closest thing there is to like a real tie-in anything to SatAM in the games, just because it has the characters cameo once.
Yeah.
And like, I guess also just the way Sonic is depicted visually.
Yeah, and they were going to have a dedicated SatAM game. I don't really remember much of the development history other than we have seen a prototype of it, and it was like a weird kind of isometric kind of game. It was more of just like an adventure-y game. I don't know if it was a point and click, but it was definitely kind of set up like it was very slow paced.
Right. I would probably put it more in the camp of like I don't know what to call it genre wise, but games like Nightshade on the NES that are point and clicks, but you also move your character manually, so it's kind of like the in between of point and clicks and like King's Quest style adventure games.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of got some DNA there.
Yeah, that's why I can't remember if it's a point and click. Like if it literally was a point and click.
Yeah, it might have been. I don't remember either. It'd be fun to watch that video again sometime. As far as I know, that game didn't even like really get into prototyping. I think that might have just been a video mock-up.
Yeah, probably.
Like it wasn't even playable. Like programmed using Genesis limitations and stuff, but it was like an auto demo.
Right, yeah.
So we got close to having real presence for the SatAM universe on the Genesis, but outside of that, we just got Sonic Spinball.
Yeah.
Do you like pinball games? Like pinball video games?
Wait, is this not a rhetorical question? Because I was going to answer it half jokingly as one. Like is this a broad you?
You do whatever you like.
I don't care about pinball games. I feel like I have an association with them because a lot of them are cursed. A lot of them are evil. Sonic Spinball is a very different kind of evil. Where like I think I spent most of my life thinking, yeah, I like Sonic Spinball. I'm weird like that. I'm kind of quirky. And then I played it while we were warming up, and I kept dying in toxic caves, like because Sonic would slip through the flippers in a way that a pinball does not, because the opening is way too wide, and I would just die because I couldn't do anything about it. I was like, well, I guess I'm not playing Sonic Spinball tonight. And it's, I guess, yeah, I kind of already said it. It's not like true pinball physics, which makes it more frustrating than it should be.
Yeah.
Tangentially related, the Sonic Generations pinball table is awesome because it is really close to pinball physics, and that makes it really fun to play, actually. But
yeah, I would say there's a nice little gradient between Sonic Spinball, Sonic Adventure, Casinopolis, and the Casino Night pinball table in Generations.
yeah,
The Adventure one is like inoffensive, but not great.
yeah, it's serviceable. You're not playing it for the pinball, so
Yeah. In contrast, when I booted up Spinball for like the first time playing it in years, genuinely maybe a decade, just the other day, also in preparation for this episode, I had a much better time. It's not like I got that much farther in Toxic Caves my first time playing it than you did just now.
yeah.
But like I gave it a second try in the same session. That went pretty good. Made my way to Lava Powerhouse, and it was fine.
Yeah, I think that's really the only hump, I guess, with Spinball, is just that like sometimes you will just go so fast that you will just fly through the flippers, and that's not fun, and you will fly literally sideways through the flippers, which is why pinball tables aren't built that way.
Yeah, it's one of those speed traps everyone talks about in Sonic games.
Normally I like Dr. Robotnik's deadly speed trap jokes, but now I don't.
But it fits, right? Those are his pinball tables, his pinball lair that he's making you climb up through.
It is his Vego fortress.
That's right, it has this name that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Sonic Spinball has a lot of weird quirks to it. Like, obviously part of that is that it's very early on in terms of what Sega wanted to do with Sonic's branding and what their different regional marketing departments thought would be good or interesting or sell. But was it like Vegomatic?
Maybe.
I feel like I know Vegomatic from something.
Maybe that's the machine in it?
Maybe.
No, that is not the machine in it. It is the name of one of the first food processing appliances to gain widespread use in the United States. Thanks, Wikipedia.
Oh. Well, you know, if we're pulling up Wikipedia, then let's see. Sonic Spinball manual. Thank you, Digital Press. they use some Sonic 2 art in the manual for Sonic Spinball. That's fun. There we go. Yeah, you had it. It just being unsure how to pronounce it. His monstrous contraption, the Veg-O Fortress or Veg-O Fortress. It's all hyphenated.
Because it could also be the Vigo Fortress, like if it's vegan for whatever reason.
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. It's just this tall checkerboard monstrosity with Eggman. I get 2/3 of Eggman's head on it, just sticking out of the ocean.
Yeah.
Built on Mount Mobius.
I have one of those.
Oh?
Yeah. I'm in my Vego Fortress right now. Aren't you?
I didn't realize I was supposed to have one for this. Is that hold on? Is that a business expense? Can I write that off?
Do you not live in a Vego Fortress? What the? I thought everyone did. Well, I guess that's why I liked Sonic Spinball. I guess it only relates to me.
Mitt, this is not This is not like what's a good joke here?
Do you not live in a giant fortress in your likeness that can rise out of the ocean at a moment's notice? That is also a humongous, deadly pinball table.
No, this is not like growing up and your mom telling you that everyone wears mismatched socks, and then you find out in high school that no one does that. This is not that. This is kind of bigger than that. You have a Vego fortress.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I look out the window and I see more.
More?
Yeah, the window, which is my eye, by the way.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, it's you. Do you see Eggman's?
Not really. I mean, I did hear a really big explosion the other night.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that would explain it.
Yeah.
Well, sad to hear one of the fortresses has been wiped from the Vego community. No, I do not have my own Vego fortress. I live under the ocean.
Oh,
So,
okay. You might live on one then,
that's possible.
and it just hasn't risen yet.
Well, I have noticed some toxic in my caves sometimes.
Yeah, sorry. These things produced a lot of waste. They're really bad for the environment, surprisingly.
Oh yeah, surprisingly. Well, that's just one of the levels in Sonic Spinball. You can go to other places in Sonic Spinball, such as the Lava Powerhouse, the Machine, the Showdown.
Sonic Spinball's level names are metal.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said the Lava Powerhouse. That wasn't correct. It's just Lava Powerhouse.
I guess. I mean, it is the Lava Powerhouse.
Yeah.
Just like they are the Toxic Caves. It's not like it's a toxic cave.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Would be a little strange to go to Toxic Caves Zone.
Yeah.
We went on a very silly bit tangent there. The most important thing to talk about with Sonic Spinball is really just that it's hard. It's hard as nails. It's a difficult, stringent and punishing game.
I feel like I would go. So I think that the conflicting opinion I have with Spinball is that it's not explicitly hard. It's not hard to play. It's just that one trap that you keep getting caught into, because that's how literally every board is built, with just very explicit ways to die, like completely beyond your control.
I kind of agree.
Like the actual game itself is not that hard. It's a little tedious, but like it's mostly just navigating that's difficult, which is because like it's a weird pinball platformer. This is why we're talking about Sonic Spinball, by the way. The theme for today is that we're talking about Sonic games that are weird and different but are still recognizably Sonic games.
Yeah. Like, I kind of agree, because I think the fact that it's hard to make Sonic go where you want is part of the design.
Yeah.
And if it's an intentional aspect of the way the game is constructed, which I think it is, because if it wasn't, then either the game was developed way too quickly, or they could have fixed it. But like, it's just super hard to get the exact angle you want off a flipper for Sonic, because like in a lot of pinball games, it will be either the pinball's existing momentum and motion is a huge factor in where it ends up going relative to the flipper, or you just have to get very good at precise timing and positioning for the pinball, know where you need it to be before you flip it so that it goes exactly where you want. Feels like neither of those really work for Sonic Spinball, because there's a lot of options you just can't get off of a flipper most of the time.
Yeah, because Sonic Spinball has the most air control, I guess, out of all of the Sonic pinball tables. Sonic Generations has none because you're not supposed to have any because it's a pinball table. I don't think Sonic Mania has any either. No, that's a lie. It does. It's just not very noticeable.
Right. It's like shaking the
Um,
machine or something.
Sonic Adventure does, but because you are shaking the machine, it's really weird and unwieldy. But like with Sonic Spinball, you're kind of moving yourself around in the air the same way you would in a regular Sonic game. But
Yeah.
because it's pinball, you can only have so much air movement without snapping it in half. Either snapping it in half or making it way more difficult to be precise.
It's like a little dichotomous. It feels like the game's kind of at odds with itself in terms of its design.
Yeah,
Like,
because
that's okay.
yeah, the idea of having like a Sonic game that is also a pinball game and still having it be a platformer is interesting and could work in, I guess, the skill set. But Sonic Spinball is so fixated on being a pinball game that there's not really a lot of opportunities to platform except in like certain little transitionary areas, and then also I guess the final boss or just the bosses in general.
Right. I feel like in the brief opportunities you have to platform in Sonic Spinball, it's really revealing of why they don't let you do it often. Like, just the way it controls is really stiff, and
Yeah.
you bounce off walls because you're a pinball. So as soon as you jump, if you don't position yourself to go over stuff, you're going to go into it instead of like up against it and then over it.
Yeah.
So it just feels kind of unnatural compared to other 2D platformers.
Yeah. I will say though, I do like Sonic Spinball on a very aesthetic level.
Yeah.
The music is awesome. Everyone who disagrees is weak. I like the sprites a lot. I like how Sonic looks in it. I like how he animates.
He's really
Everything about it's
expressive.
cool. Yeah, and just the sound effects are really good, and there's a reason why Mania uses a ton of them.
Yeah. That's true. I think like there's a handful of sound effects in Spinball. They're like a little too blaring,
Mm,
but that's just the Gems sound engine. You can
yeah,
blame whoever whoever at Sega of America was like, yes, we're going to develop a sound engine for all of us Western developers to make use of, so that we don't have to make a new sound engine for every game. It'll be really easy to work with. We're also going to make it sound like butts.
hmm they're good butts though. Sonic's good with having butts in his music.
Yeah, the thing is, like, Howard Drawson did a really good job working with the Gems engine. It's memorable. It has a distinct and uh like either mostly enjoyable or like palatable once you get used to it sound to it,
hmm
compared to a lot of other stuff on the Genesis, which is really weakened by its by being constrained by limitations of the Gem sound engine.
hmm
I think Sonic is just also well animated in Spinball.
Yeah, it it really masks the weird controls because I think the animation brings it halfway.
Right.
Like it makes the weird controls feel a lot more intentional, which I'm sure they are anyway because it's a pinball game. But
Hmm.
the animations are good. They are good relative to what the game is trying to do. Because like there's a really weird thing with Sonic in general and animations relative to controls. Like how if you give him a walk cycle in any game, immediately he feels worse just for no reason. He could have the same movement speed as if he doesn't have anything different. Like if you took two instances of Sonic 2 and one of them he just had a walk animation when he first started moving, that version would feel worse to play. He would
Yeah,
feel slower.
that game is Sonic 4.
That game is Sonic 4. Or some of the advanced games, I think.
Yeah, that started happening in Sonic Advance too.
Yeah, which is weird. Why would they do it in that game? But whatever.
Yeah. Not to like ascribe malicious intent to the developers of Sonic Spinball. I know, but um I have to wonder. I have to wonder just a little bit if the awkward controls was a bit of that kind of especially Western developer mindset at the time of, we have to make games extra hard so that kids don't beat them in a day when they rent them.
hmm I
It just
mean,
wouldn't surprise me, just because Sega of America in particular was doing a lot of stuff like that in localization, compared even to like Nintendo.
Hmm. I could see that being the case because like with Sonic Spinball, if you're really good at it, and by really good I mean you understand how the pinball physics work, you'll be done in it in like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
It's not hard.
it's only got 4 levels, and like I don't even know if only feels like a proper qualifier for a pinball game. Like I don't know.
Hmm. I would say no. It's if anything, it's just a stinky platformer.
Yeah, for a platformer, it's only got 4 levels.
Yeah.
Now, I asked if you liked pinball video games earlier. I don't know if I really care much for them. I haven't played many. I think I've touched like Sonic Spinball, obviously. I've probably played Mario Pinball Land like once, but it was eons ago. And I don't remember what it felt like to play it, even though I've seen people play it recently. Um, I played Sonic Pinball Party once, which, you know, another pinball game with Sonic in it.
Hmm.
And I feel like that might genuinely be kind of the extent of it. I've played pinball on NES, but yeah, that's pinball on NES. I just don't really have much of an attachment to any of these kinds of games. But Sonic Spinball ropes me in a bit because it's got that platformer aspect to it.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's cool aesthetically.
I have played Mario Pinball Land, unfortunately. I've played Sonic Generations Pinball, like I've said a million times by now.
Right.
Um, I think I played Pokemon Pinball, the GBA version,
Hmm.
a million years ago. Of course, I've played Sonic Spinball. I guess that's it. I have maybe played a couple other like random kind of just whatever generic pinball games, but that's kind of the extent. I don't think I'm necessarily a fan of the genre, but it's fun. Just when I'm playing video games, there's other things I'd rather be doing, especially if it's like an arcadey game.
Yeah. I'm sure people have leveled this criticism before, but like I don't have much interest in playing pinball as a video game because it's a whole package I buy once at some kind of minimum price, like $30 or more, depending on the game, and
Hmm.
have, and then either it's kind of a flat experience because it's a pinball table, it's static to some degree, or it's one of those pinball games trying to be bigger than that and have like an adventure aspect to it. I watched a video on Kirby's Pinball Land recently, only the third Kirby game ever. And a lot of people, me included, have played or seen that game and not realized that it had like a linear story component to it. Like you play a pinball table until you get to the boss, and you beat the boss, and and the table's done, and you go to the next one. And then
Hmm.
after you do all of them, you get to go to King Dedede's table. And I didn't know that. I thought it was just themed pinball tables that also happen to have bosses on them. Um,
Yeah.
so like it's either trying to justify being a whole video game by doing something like that, which Sonic Spinball does also, or it's not. And any day of the week, I'd rather just go out to a local, I guess not like a proper arcade, but a local place that has arcade games in it and play a pinball.
Yeah.
For like 25 cents or 50 cents, and then get my pinball fill.
That did remind me. Kirby Mass Attack has a pinball version or mini game.
Really?
It's yeah, and it's pretty good. It also has a set of bosses. Um, but it's a little bit more straightforward. I don't remember if the board changes. I don't think it does. I think it's just you go you do the stuff you need to do in order to activate like a little King Dedede thing,
Hmm.
and then if you go in that, then it transports you to a different boss every time. And it's like Wispy Woods, Lololo and La La La, Marks,
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's another one I don't remember, but they're all like
Krakow, maybe?
maybe they're all like genuinely cool. Kirby Mass Attack had crazy mini games, but this isn't a Kirby podcast.
Right. Uh, I definitely feel like pinball works well in a video game context in that scenario where it's like a wholly side experience to something.
Mm.
Of course, it still takes a lot of development to make it good and feel like a worthwhile side thing, which at that point can start to feel like it's taking up a lot of resources, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But I like it.
I do like it.
It's kind of all I have to say about Spinball gameplay wise. It's kind of sad. Like,
Yeah,
it's a really interesting game, but it's not deep.
yeah. It's really nothing that crazy. It's interesting to do that for Sonic. It's a little bit of a shame that it was never tried again in a more, realized capacity outside of like the generic pinball levels that kind of come and go. But
Yeah, closest you get is the pinball table in Adventure and Generations specifically.
yeah,
Actually, yeah, Sonic is the ball in Generations, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And there's different physics depending on if you're playing as classic or modern.
Oh, that's cute. I actually didn't know that. I should
Yeah,
play that sometime.
modern gets the boost, which I think just makes you go faster in whichever direction the ball is going. But classic Sonic just straight up gets the spin dash, so you could stop yourself and reposition. But you like both are
Oh,
limited.
oh, that's
You only get so
nuts.
many.
Okay, that sounds really fun. Actually, that is something that games can do that pinball tables can't really is give abilities to the pinball.
Yeah,
That's really interesting. Anyway, that's one major angle of Sonic Spinball discussion. The other thing we kind of touched on in getting into it is that it's a very United States Sonic game.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, it's subtle, but the way that Sonic is drawn in this game is like a little closer to that sort of Mohawk style that he was depicted in for a lot of the advertising in the US, a lot of the comic art, the cartoons. I think it's even more noticeable in Sonic's reflection in the glass in the bonus stages.
Yeah, he is very expressive. His animation frames are a lot more limited than they are in all the other games, but I think they do a lot more with the sprites that make them more interesting to look at.
Hmm. I also feel like that low animation just gels with the overall presentation, I guess.
Yeah,
Stuff like how the camera moves, just how Sonic moves, period. It kind of like works that he has the 2 or 3 frame build up to his jump. That's a little slow.
hmm You know what's interesting?
But
He doesn't have the mohawk.
yeah, that's why I said it was like subtle. Or do you mean like in the sprites or in the reflection?
He well, in the sprites he doesn't have it at all.
Hmm.
Let me see if yeah, I don't think his reflection sprites are in the at least the sheet that I'm looking at with just all of his main gameplay sprites. But he expressly does not have a mohawk. Okay, yes, he does have a mohawk in the reflection. He does not have a mohawk in his gameplay sprites.
You're right, yeah.
There's maybe a couple of like forward facing ones where he does have it, but like they're all based off of the picture on the title screen where his spines are really weird, but they are expressly not the mohawk.
Right. I guess like it doesn't do that much different from say Sonic 2's sprites in how it shapes his head and kind of separates them from the spines, but like it always felt like a little more present in these sprites than it did in Sonic 1 and 2 to me.
Yeah.
So you're right, he doesn't really have the mohawk. He especially super doesn't whenever you see him from anything other than a profile view.
Mm.
You can actually see the other spines.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up Sonic 2 because that's what I was thinking. Is it's been in my head lately that the Sonic 2 like I guess design sprites are really interesting for Sonic.
Like, interesting in what way?
He just kind of has like spines on his head that are flat. You could kind of see it in the corkscrew sprites. That
Yeah.
Sonic's head is just a spheroid, and then
Yeah.
his spines are just flat. Like he's got a bunch of different little mohawk spines.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. They super changed that for Sonic 3.
Yeah.
It also doesn't match with the way he's drawn and animated for the special stages, which is funny.
Yep. It also doesn't match how he's drawn and animated in Sonic 1.
Yeah. Makes me wonder if maybe some of these animations. Well, the corkscrew one is based off a 3D model, right?
Probably that would make sense.
That might be part of it. It could have been a 3D model that was developed primarily by like Sega Technical Institute members. I wonder.
Because a lot of the other sprites just don't look like that at all.
Yeah. You can kind of see like the disconnect between his spines and his head shape-wise in some of the new in-between frames that Sonic 2 has. Like looking at the in-between frame for crouching that wasn't there in Sonic 1.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. I'd not thought about this much. You know, just more to the pile of just Sonic looked different in the US.
Yeah. It's interesting because like the 2D art for Sonic and Sonic 2 is so distinctly not that, and that's equally as prevalent in Sonic 2. Like the title screen and some of the UI stuff is very distinctly I think Yamaguchi. That's his Sonic, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yasushi Yamaguchi, right?
Yeah. I love Yamaguchi's Sonic 2 art. We should talk about that sometime.
Yeah. Sometime.
Well, we'll get to it soon. I think, yeah.
Maybe someday. But besides Sonic Spinball, there are other weird Sonic games that exist in the Genesis era that are kind of like Sonic, but are not quite like Sonic. So I will give you the pick of the litter.
We were gonna talk about Sonic CDs like a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just like a little bit. I feel like we had a good enough piece on it a couple episodes ago, but I don't remember, did we even like talk about the time travel like that much?
I
feel like we mostly talked about the level design, and then talked about how time travel incentivized exploration, but then like didn't talk about the mechanic much. It's super weird.
We didn't really talk much about the bosses either, I don't think, and they're interesting to say the least.
That is kind of a fun place to start, to be honest. Sonic 1 and 2 have these really straightforward bosses for the series to start with.
Yeah.
Just like, here's a machine that does a thing, probably goes from left to right on the screen, and you gotta bop it, and sometimes you gotta figure out how you can get to a point where you can bop it, or you gotta lure it to you to bop it. And that's pretty much it. They're usually very straightforward. Sonic CDs are kind of all over the place, and a lot of them expressly don't require you to hit them at all.
Yeah. I think a good way of looking at a lot of the other Sonic bosses is that like they're very they're like super badniks, where they are expressly just attacking you, and the question isn't, oh, how do I hit them? It's, oh, I need to hit them a bunch of times. Because in CD, you just hit them once, usually, and they just kind of cease. Some of them are just straight up wars of attrition.
Yeah, right? I always think of the Quartz Quadrant one where you're just on the conveyor.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
It is, honestly. I think there's like a really interesting creativity in CD's bosses that the franchise doesn't tap into much outside of that game. I don't know if I can think of any Sonic game that has bosses that are... You know, Sonic CD's bosses are kind of like designed around Sonic's different existing functions and interactions with objects.
Yeah.
That kind of just hit me. Like, the Title Tempest one is just how Sonic interacts with the air bubbles. Quartz Quadrant is just how Sonic interacts with running on things. It's just using his running as a thing, but it's not a chase. And the Wacky Workbench one is just about jumping up from level to level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like that might have been an intentional like angle the devs were going for.
Yeah, and Collision Chaos is just a pinball table.
Yeah, Collision Chaos is also just a pinball table.
So there
Dang,
you go.
if only Chaotix had any pinball in it, then we'd have a real theme going.
Yeah. Well, now I can say I've played another pinball game that is a Sonic game. I've played Sonic CD. It has pinball.
Yeah, I've played Sonic CD. It has pinball. It's not good pinball. Yeah, I'll stand by that. I think Spinball has better pinball than Collision Chaos's boss, which, it's just 1/24th, 1/30th of Sonic CD. But still.
Here's the real thing. Are Sonic CD's bosses at all similar to Sonic Mania's, which have a similar kind of theme, I guess, of like they're not so much the boss attacking you as much as they are, oh, how do I hit this boss in the first place?
I kind of see the relationship. I feel like the problem is that Mania's bosses take multiple hits.
Yeah.
If they were more in line with CD's design philosophy, they would either take way fewer hits, period, or just take the one.
Yeah.
I do think that's kind of important for a puzzle boss, is for the solution, finding the solution to be the majority of the challenge. Because if you find the solution and then you do it once and then the game is like, okay, do it again, that's just a breeding grounds for tedium.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what I want to say in response. Because it feels like something that could like stir an interesting discussion, but it's definitely not an equal or at least a straightforward comparison. Because like Mania definitely has less straightforward bosses than most other Sonic games, but it's still like you still have to hit them a bunch of times. They're still functionally the same as all the other bosses, even if they are puzzle bosses, which is what makes them fall apart and make them convoluted, which I think is basically what you just said, but different.
Yeah, I was going to kind of wrap it back around to the actual bosses that are in Mania. So I mean, everyone jumps to the Flying Battery Act 2 boss, which is fair because it is not very intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, even if you pick up on the idea that you need to bop the boss into the spikes pretty quickly, figuring out how to do that consistently is not easy.
Yeah. I do think, though, that once you do that, it's really not that bad, and it doesn't take that much to pick up on it.
Yeah.
It's just that by nature of being a boss, it's hard to get that practice, I guess.
Yeah, and I, like a lot of people in their first time at the boss, got there with only like 50 seconds to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to the upper path of Flying Battery Act 2 being real long. And a lot longer on your first playthrough.
Yeah.
I mostly just don't like it because it's kind of taxing.
I can see that.
Whenever I play Mania these days, I have played it so much that I understand all the bosses, but I still find Flying Battery Act 2 is kind of tiring to do, unless I'm super.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to think if any of the other bosses in Mania are that, like, figure out how to do it. There's a little bit of that to, like, Lava Refact 1. I guess Studiopolis Act 2. But not really.
Don't they bring back the horrible, awful, stupid Death Egg boss in Titanic
Red
Monarch?
Eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do in Act 1.
I forget if he's better or worse. Because I know Mania has the gravity mechanic because you're in the elevator.
Yeah, I feel like the gravity mechanic makes it more annoying, but not harder.
It's probably a lot more tolerable than the second phase in Sonic and Knuckles. where it's just
Yeah,
a barrage of things that can kill you.
yeah. I mean, you get used to it once you realize you're basically safe in the corners.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm not sure. I like Sonic CD's bosses.
Yeah, I think I like them too. I like what Sonic CD brings in terms of ideas that kind of expand upon Sonic's natural moveset and all that. And I feel that Spinball doesn't really do that. It kind of
Right.
dampens Sonic to bring it all together, what we've talked about so far. Uh, Sonic Spinball's movement is dampened a lot to make way for the pinball physics, so it doesn't necessarily function as a super good, like, different Sonic platform in the same way that CD does. Because CD is we've already talked to death about the level design, so like the time travel mechanic is definitely an interesting idea on paper, but the level design um, is not really built around it, so to speak, because it's so much platforming. So they do kind of end up having just little designated areas that which you use to just build up speed without having to worry about stopping, which kind
Yeah.
of defeats the purpose.
They basically keep it up all the way up until Metallic Madness Act 2.
Yep.
I feel like that might be the only zone in the game that doesn't have like a really obvious time travel spot anywhere in it. Well,
Yeah.
wait, no, never mind. It has the discs. In the beginning, it has the scrap brain discs.
Oh yeah, that's true. Is that only in Act 2 though?
That's only in Act 2. They're not in Act 1. Well, yeah, I don't think they're in Act 1.
Well, there you go.
And I always forget. Uh, despite the fact that it's a really simple spot to time travel on.
Mhm.
To be fair, though, that's a more interesting way of giving a player a really easy out for time travel than just having two springs back to back.
Yeah, that's true. Having Sonic have to move for a certain amount of time at a high enough speed is definitely an interesting mechanic, but it isn't actualized very well. And
No.
I know that there are like mods and stuff that make it so you can time travel way faster under with way less time taken to do it. But I don't know, I feel like having to go out of your way to like find the signposts and being able to lose your signpost is just so frustrating. I feel like having to micromanage that in and of itself isn't intuitive,
Hmm.
but I don't really know what else you would do. I don't know how else you would have that, especially if there's like because with Sonic CD you have three different eras. You have three different levels you have to be worrying about at a time. Like you're never going to go to the future. You have no reason to ever go to the future, but you still can. So I guess in that respect it's also not as fully realized given that you have literally no reason to ever go to the future of a given level.
Yeah, I've seen people try to boil down, or not try to boil down, try to suggest boiling the game down to past and future. And there's a somewhat well-known Sonic fan game out there. I think it's only a demo still. Um, Sonic Time Twisted that does
Mm.
just that. Uh, all the levels in that game are just past and future, and like I guess that works. I guess that's fine. I feel like it loses something interesting to go down to just even if it's just good future, past bad future. Still, like dropping the present feels like it loses something, but I feel like the only way to make that four period structure work is to force the player into the future somehow. Like if the pipeline was instead always present to bad future to past to good future, but that might get kind of stale,
Yeah.
especially having it not in the player's control. I'm not sure how to feel about it. Um, I just feel like Sonic CD brings something that's so interesting but flawed, but I don't know how to make it not flawed.
Yeah. Cause like the thing that I immediately think of is, oh, just do what Sonic 2 would do and make it thematic instead
Uh,
of mechanic. But then you're not really doing anything. Then you don't have the element, the gameplay element at all. Then you're just weaving it into the story, which would probably work better, but It's not an actual solution, I wouldn't say.
Yeah. It's just a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to see too much left on the cutting room floor for Sonic CD for what it is, just because it's so interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that can be taken from it, and I think that games like Mania definitely do. Um, I think that's why a kind of meeting of the minds between CD and 3 and Knuckles is probably the best idea
Yeah.
in terms of getting Sonic to have the best, or at least most fitting level design ideas and setup.
Here's a thought, actually. This would be a big divergence from the way that Sonic CD handles its time travel, but I wonder. Okay, so I've also seen people make hacks for non-Sonic CD Sonic games, and recently mods for the 2011 remake, since that got decompiled recently alongside Sonic 1 and Sonic 2.
Right.
I've seen people make mods where the time travel is just instantaneous. Either you hit a monitor, or as soon as you pass the signpost, you just time travel. I wonder if if you took that idea and combined it with the special stage big rings from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, if you'd really have something.
That would probably work a little better, but I don't know what you would do about that. I think if you did that, I would not make them limited. Like, I wouldn't make it so if you use a big ring, then that goes
Oh
away.
yeah.
Like, the big ring would be able to go in and out, and then you would basically just have a big open world act where you go wherever you want, and that's the idea, is that you really do just go around and explore. But I don't know if that level of non-linearity in a Sonic game would really gel. Actually, you know what that would be like? That would be like Knuckles Chaotix.
No, it can't. It can't have Knuckles Chaotix's level design though. It doesn't work.
I know, but like it would have to be like really big square levels with a lot of verticality. That's what Knuckles Chaotix is. Obviously, there would be better like landmarking, which is, I think, the biggest issue for Knuckles Chaotix levels.
I mean, yeah, that is the biggest issue with Chaotix. I don't know. I'm not ready. I'm not ready at Chaotix yet. I feel like this idea has legs. I feel like if you've got just regular Sonic CD level design, but in the place, like, okay, let's take Wacky Workbench as an example, because it's the first level I can think of that has an off the beaten path area with no bonus, no nothing. It's just a dead end that has a neat little Easter egg in it. What if that Eggman statue / goddess statue or whatever that's in one of the Wacky Workbench acts that you can find deep down the level just has a time travel portal in it, and you go in there and you pop out in the past, and that's it. From there, none of the level design has changed. You can exit that spot to go anywhere you would normally be able to go to, but you're in the past now. What if that was the way it worked, just period? If there were like little alcoves like that.
I don't know, because then you're turning exploration into like kind of a secret, I guess. Like, you would have to go out of your way to find a way to explore what are technically mandatory alternatives of the main level. Because the thing with the big rings is that they're secret, so they're tucked away in little alcoves that you have to go out of your way to find, because they take you to the special stage. They're optional. But I mean, here's another idea. You do the big ring thing, and you make it so each zone has a time stone in it. And that's what the special stages do. The special stages, if you get the time stone, then you get taken to the good future automatically. Maybe something like that. But I don't know. That doesn't sound like a solution either.
Well, the reason I'm like pushing hard on this big rings combo idea is that, yeah, it'd be making the time travel secret, but I feel like the time travel already is something you have to go out of your way to do, so it's not that big of a reach.
It makes it take more of a backseat, I think. Because like it or not, you will still end up in a good or a bad future at the end of a given zone. So you are forced to interact with it in regular Sonic CD whether you like it or not, and that can still apply here. But I think you will also inevitably run into a time travel signpost, because they are all over the place.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say like, because if you make the big rings more out in the open, then that would also probably lead you to having more non-linear open levels, because then they would be kind of hubs. Each big ring,
Mm-hmm.
instead of being in like a little side alcove, it would basically be a little hub. Like maybe there could be a checkpoint near it, and you just run around and you activate different checkpoints to come back to those.
And
But
then it becomes more like Chaotix.
yeah, so I don't really know.
I guess I don't really know either.
I guess like, I think if you want to do something like Sonic CD and really flesh out the idea and make it really work in the skill set, you would kind of have to let go of the ambition of it being a linear game, at least level design wise. I think
Yeah.
you would have to give that part of Sonic up, and you would have to really explore what it means to be a non-linear 2D Sonic game, which is something that no game has really done before,
At
besides I
least
guess
no.
Chaotix.
Well, at least no developed. At least no game developed and published by Sega.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if that's the threshold, we could say the fans have made basically any idea.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. Well, I only specified because the first thing that came to mind was Sonic Chrono Adventure, that one like kind of smaller fan game developed by like Fepard. But
Yeah.
I haven't really played it. I don't know if I've even heard that many things about it that may be interested. It seems like it does nonlinear. It does nonlinear exploration based Sonic in a way that is not the way I would ideally envision it. But
Hmm.
that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
Um, I guess then I'm okay with letting go and accepting that Sonic can try to be nonlinear, and then a Knuckles Chaotix cartridge appears in my hands, and I'm horrified.
The good news is Knuckles Chaotix has a lot more problems than being non-linear.
Yeah, I've been building it up for the laughs, but that's not the fundamental issue with Chaotix at all.
Yeah, I do want to stress that when I brought up Chaotix earlier, that was not me forcing a segue, just that it was relevant.
I think it was funny as an unintentionally forced segue.
Yeah.
I love you, Sonic CD. I'll see you later. Knuckles Chaotix.
So I think Sonic fans have a lot of beef with Knuckles Chaotix that like is kind of superfluous.
Elaborate. I think I'm with you, but elaborate.
um a lot of Sonic fans have beef with like the aesthetic of Knuckles Chaotix, and it's fine.
It's fine.
It's borderline good. And okay, it's good. It's borderline
But I
great
know what
is
you
what I
mean.
mean. Yeah. It's not bad. I feel like a lot of people have a ton of beef with it for some reason. I don't understand why. Um like, its graphics are definitely a lot, but I think that's not necessarily the way that they are constructed as much as the way that they are used, which like doesn't necessarily excuse it, but like the player sprites are great. They are all animated super duper well. Um including Knuckles. But
Yeah.
the level design, like we mentioned earlier, has no landmarking at all whatsoever. So it feels like the levels are just a bunch of nothing. And that's not like the fault of how like the tile sets look or anything. That's just the level design being
That's yeah.
non-communicative.
Yeah. Can I layer something on there also? I don't know if you knew this already or not, because the first time you played Chaotix was just the other day.
Mm.
But the levels in that game, each act is just built on top of the previous one, effectively. Like, there are minor level design changes, but the reason the whole game blurs together the longer you play it is because every time you play another act in the same zone, you're just playing that same act but more.
Hmm.
It's just extra. They get taller, they get wider, they especially get taller. And the lack of landmarking makes it heinous, because the more of it you have to go through each time, the harder it is to understand where you are at all.
That's
It's really not good. And it's especially not helped by the handful, like small amount, like 5 out of the whole game, tops, levels, where where the end of the level is not in the top right, or just like top in general.
Yeah.
There's some speed slider acts where the end of the level is like down into the middle right. But you have to go all the way up and come back down to get there. It's strange.
Why did Knuckles Chaotix do that?
Sorry, I super derailed like you giving Knuckles Chaotix some slack to really talk down on it.
I mean, it's fine. The thing about Knuckles Chaotix is that I feel like people dog on it for reasons that are not the big issue with Knuckles Chaotix. It's like you're jumping to the cherry on top, and you're the one putting the cherry there. You're sneaking it there as though it's always been there. I don't. There's. I guess the issues people have with Knuckles Chaotix on an aesthetic level are the same as the issues people have with Sonic CD, only more extreme. But like,
right.
I guess I still disagree with it.
Yeah, I especially disagree with it on that basis because when you look at Chaotix and look at Sonic CD looks like a normal Sonic game.
Yeah.
It doesn't even feel separate. Chaotix is one of those games that has the kind of visual style where the artists really wanted to fill as much of the screen as possible with interesting things, and it's a miracle that it works. At least from that angle, because it looks nice, but it's definitely busy.
Yeah.
Busy is not like an inherently bad thing. That's why I feel like I can confidently say that Knuckles Chaotix is a good-looking game. It is busy, but it's not a bad thing that it looks busy. It doesn't go overboard.
It's the level design, and it's the fact that all of your characters can just go wherever they want.
We had some fun jumps in the brief time that we were playing.
Yeah, we were just going crazy. I played as SBO, and you played as Mighty. So we are two characters who can basically go wherever there is a wall.
Yeah. Especially because you can actually take curves.
Yeah.
And ceilings.
And like, God forbid you're playing as Charmy, then you're really just doing whatever you want. You might as well be in debug mode. Because you have effectively found no clip. Yeah,
like you can't go through walls. Sometimes badniks will still hurt you, but most of the time you can do whatever you want as Charmy.
Yeah.
It's unrestrained summer fun.
Whew.
Chaotix did come out in July.
There you go.
So, there you go.
Bless the Chaotix. I don't know why they did that to them. Like, it's not even a bad thing to give them that much control, but all it serves to do is compound how ridiculous the level design is.
I think it's there's only really 2 routes to it that they came to this design conclusion, I think. And maybe it's kind of silly to say it, but it's either that they had the level design and then we're like, well, we got to make sure every character can traverse this, or they had all these cool ideas for character traversal abilities that let them scale vertically, and the level design came about from trying to accommodate the fact that all the characters can just do that.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to say. I feel like I sit more in the latter camp because it just makes sense to me that they had that they approached everything in Chaotix from this would be cool if we did this kind of standpoint, judging by the fact that it has monitors that make you big, monitors that make you small, monitors that switch your character, monitors that switch your characters, as in player 1 controls player 2 and vice versa. All these little things, the fact that the level order is randomly determined, the fact that you play a little crane game to pick your buddy.
Yeah. All
these random ideas that are out there. Mitt and I didn't get to it when we played because we didn't play for very long, but when you get to Metal Sonic, who is the final boss of the game, there's like a pre-final boss phase where once you've cleared all of the levels in the game, the level select gets taken over by Metal Sonic, who just hangs out in the center of it, and the roulette just goes like normal. And what you do is you hit the thing that stops the roulette, and if you're lucky, it lands on X and does damage to him. And that's it. That's the mechanic.
What happens if it doesn't?
The screen pans up, and some kind of attack phase happens depending on the number you landed on.
Oh, okay. I was worried that you were going to say it makes you play a level.
That would be kind of funny, but also not.
It would be ghoulish.
It would make me sad.
It would make me sad.
Luckily, no, they don't do that. It is like trying to be some kind of a proper boss, but it's just wild. The things the dev team decided were interesting and implemented.
You know what that does sound like, though?
What?
A Mania boss.
A little bit.
Like wholesale. Like the roulette would be less obnoxious, but that sounds like a Mania boss.
See, I think, like, I get where you're coming from. I don't think any of the bosses in Mania are, like, at that level.
No, I wouldn't say either, but, like, just the concept, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I feel you. In that case, like, I could see a Mania 2 having something like this, as, like, them going to the logical extremes.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they did with the Metal Sonic Phase 1 fight.
Well, wouldn't you know it, that's a reference to the Chaotix Metal Sonic boss.
Yeah, I know. It's
okay.
Like, it works both ways.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that boss is a puzzle boss. That was something I should have been thinking of earlier when I was trying to think of Mania bosses that were kind of awkward. So yeah, but my point is Chaotix does some really strange stuff, and it doesn't seem like it has much of a logical backing for any of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they designed the characters mostly first and then made levels to accommodate.
Yeah.
It's a buck wild game.
It truly is buck wild.
I was talking with Mitt about this. I think it'd be fun to just pick up wholesale the hold mechanic from Chaotix. Not the part that they use for the tether, but the part that's used for just picking your buddy up and chucking them, and just put that in another 2D Sonic game with multiplayer. Like, that'd be fun. It's the same thing as they did in New Super Mario Brothers, and then held on to for every 2D Mario game afterward, and one of the 3D ones. That stuff's silly. I guess, like, Sonic Advance 3 also had it, but, like, that was different.
Yeah. It would certainly make co-op a little more manageable? Playable?
Yeah.
Equal opportunity?
Let me add this on also. You can design in Mario Maker levels where tossing your buddy up can take them to interesting places in the level that you won't be able to go to then, and you go off and do something different. Sonic level design is even more conducive to that idea.
Yeah, that's true.
I just want to play that.
That would be interesting. I do think, like, the ring mechanic definitely helps make co-op a little more intentional feeling, but because it's so ridiculous, they really need to if they ever brought it back in, like, a real co-op capacity, I think they should refine it so that one player has the weight, I guess, and can lead. Like, the idea of it, if you're not going to just have two screens where the two players can just go wherever they want, it's a good way of having the two players keep up with each other in a meaningful way. But, like, if you give one player priority, then you can basically play. Like, you could actually play the game. Like,
yeah.
There should be an option for just pure Chaotix level insanity, but it should be functional first.
I feel like the ideal implementation of that would be like the Mario Kart Double Dash style of you both press a button at the same time to switch who has priority. So that you don't have like a permanently assigned role of being the leader of your combi ring duo, but you can stay there the whole game if that's what you actually want.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
And then you could just mix that idea with encore mode.
Yeah, actually, yeah. There's a lot of untapped potential from Chaotix. Man, what was I thinking about the other day that like feels similar to me in a different franchise? I feel like something came up in one of our Discord servers recently about like another game that's like similarly untapped. Like the developer publisher made it and then was like, well, we're never going to revisit any of these ideas ever again. I can't remember what we were talking about.
I cannot remember either.
That's okay. Struggling to remember something that happened in a Discord conversation does not make for great radio, unfortunately.
True. We can keep
but
going.
I definitely think there are people out there in other fandoms who can relate to that sentiment.
Yeah.
It says something that a lot of people who clamor for more iOS remakes, well, not iOS remakes specifically, but more remakes of older Sonic games from Taxman and Stealth, want a Chaotix remake / rework.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot about Chaotix that's compelling. I, as a noted person who really likes having a bunch of different playable characters with slightly different abilities, loves Chaotix.
I wish that Chaotix wasn't the video game equivalent of like eating a bowl of like Lucky Charms marshmallows. That almost feels like it's still too nice.
No, I feel that I couldn't stomach Lucky Charms marshmallows for that long. I feel like struggling to figure out how to start this sentence, but a lot of people out there cannot wrap their heads around the idea that the cereal in Lucky Charms balances out the marshmallows.
Yeah.
Like, we understand this. I think there's a lot of people who just don't. Will happily pick out the marshmallows for the rest of their lives. Horror stories of people talking about their siblings pulling all the marshmallows directly out of the Lucky Charms box and leaving all the cereal.
That's scary. Because like Lucky Charms, the cereal bits aren't even that good.
No. They tried that once. It was called Alphabets.
That's true.
That cereal I don't think lasted that long, like maybe a couple years.
They were like, they did it with the soup, so we could do it with cereal, right? Cereal's kind of a soup.
Cereal's... Be careful opening that can of worms.
Can of cereal.
Do they make canned cereal?
Do they make canned worms?
I don't know the answer to that question.
This is where the weird Sonic games put us mentally.
I like Chaotix. I like what it does to me for good and for bad and for worse and for okay.
I almost feel like the cereal comparison isn't even apt because it's not like I'm sitting there spiraling sick after playing Knuckles Chaotix. It's more like everything just bounces off of me. It feels like nothing is just absorbed into my brain while I play it.
It's like eating nothing but chips all day.
I wouldn't even say that because, like, depending on the kind of chips you eat, you're gonna mess up like the insides of your mouth. Like, you're gonna get cuts.
Yeah, true. Dang. Well, I hope people kind of get the idea of what we mean, because
yeah,
I guess like to not use a metaphor, playing Chaotix is just a really dulling experience.
Yeah.
The more you go through it, the more it's just the same thing, and it just becomes less engaging to do. Sometimes you get lucky. I did a whole almost single segment let's play with my friend Ariel of the game last year, and I went into it thinking it was going to go horribly. I really thought that it was just going to come off like a really weird, unfun game. We were going to have to put it down at some point, come back to it, and finish it up then, and we were going to be drained by the end of it. But it was surprisingly energizing because we kept running into like weird occurrence after weird occurrence. I was not as familiar with the game as I thought I was, and we'd found things I didn't remember existing in the game. Little things like that. Bosses were exciting, and when you get an experience like that with Chaotix, it can be kind of electrifying and like really spark what's interesting about Sonic, period, despite being a game that doesn't have him in it until the end.
Mm.
But on the other end of the spectrum, you can be completely unenamored with it and be so worn down by it that 5 levels in, you're done. It's very polarizing.
Yeah, it does seem like a good, just insane brain co-op game, but I think because my like minimum level of stimulation when playing things is too high for Chaotix, I just can't do that.
Yeah. I think it got balanced out for Ariel and me just by the fact that we were talking the whole time, and we were able to kind of like have conversations about things unrelated to the game.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Chaotix soul-sucking. It doesn't hit that low, but it definitely pulls something out of you.
Yeah. I feel like it doesn't pull anything out of you. I feel like it just doesn't give you anything to offset just the normal energy depletion that you experience being alive.
Knuckles Chaotix, a game to make you realize you're alive.
Yeah.
But
Halfway
like
through
not
Knuckles,
in the good way.
halfway through Knuckles Chaotix, you'll like snap out of the trance of playing it and you'll go, "What am I doing here?" And then you'll get up and like go do something productive.
Like a sim who just decides, well, I'm done playing video games now. Oh, I have to go bake cookies.
Time to go look at my fridge.
I did say a game that makes you feel, that makes you realize you're alive, but in a bad way. And actually, I'm going to rescind the in a bad way. I think it can go either way, and it's completely situational.
Yeah.
What a, like, neutral game.
I almost want to rehash my styrofoam comparison because for some reason it is a game that is the food equivalent of eating styrofoam, which sounds bad, but like I can't think of anything else.
It's like if eating...
You know what it's like?
What?
It's like when you're at church and you eat the bread. That's what it is.
I was going to say something similar to styrofoam.
Yeah.
It's like eating those edible packing peanuts.
Okay. Edible?
They make those now. I don't know if they're used at all commonly for packaging and shipping. I'm sure they're absolutely not. But like people recently, like in the last handful of years, made packing peanuts that are not harmful to ingest. But they didn't do anything else to them. They're still just packing peanuts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically just eating styrofoam. It also, a good comparison would be eating cotton candy that hasn't been flavored.
Oh, geez, you can do that?
I don't know, but I think that would be a similar experience. Or
Yeah.
like if you could eat popcorn and it was just like the popped bits and none of the original corn. And it was like unsalted, unbuttered.
These are like such cursed food ideas. I feel like either they have to exist already, and like somehow like someone has taken the time to meticulously remove all of the corn bit from the popped corn, or someone has submitted these ideas to cursedfoods.tumblr.com.
Huh. It's like eating an air rice cake, except it has no flavoring. Not an air rice cake. I straight up, okay. The reason why I said air rice cake is because I had to like remember the food that I was thinking of, because I only remembered seeing them at like supermarkets, like white people supermarkets. So I had, and like they were like explicitly diet foods, and I thought, oh
God.
well, they're like airy, and they would just like pop them out and they would float. And when I Googled it, it said are rice cakes, and in my infinite wisdom, I misread that as air rice cakes. So this
I
is
like
where
that
we're
idea
at now.
though. It's just cloud food.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. Completely unrelated to anything that we should be talking about, but I hate diet culture and what it does to people. I'm so sorry to everyone affected by it.
Hmm.
I'm sorry you're out here eating our rice cakes.
Yeah, or even air rice cakes. Like, come on.
Or even air rice cakes. Sonic 3 Air?
Hey,
Is that something? We already talked about Sonic 3.
I feel like I would be down to talk about it more, but we're I look at my watch and I tap my finger on my wrist.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe another time.
Yeah. I don't think they will ever make another alternative Sonic game ever again.
Yeah, like, this is the first time we dropped the word alternative this whole recording session, which is really funny, but like, that was the seed of tying these games together, subject-wise, is that they're all like slight offshoots, not just in gameplay execution or how they interpret Sonic's setting, but how they interpret Sonic visually, thematically. They're just like they're in like their own worlds.
Mm.
And you're right, Sonic is not doing that anymore, like as a franchise. I mean, I wonder, we do have Sonic Prime coming, and we still have no idea what that looks like, what it's going to be like writing-wise, structure-wise. And obviously that's a cartoon, but I just wonder if that has more propensity to be distinctly different from current Sonic than, say, like Sonic Boom ever did.
Mm-hmm. Part of me hopes it doesn't, or at least would be more interested if it doesn't, because I feel like having some interesting continuity would be a nice change of pace. But
yeah, I agree with that. Either way, that did bring me to the sad realization that Sonic Boom is the closest thing we have to like alternative Sonic right now. I mean, it's done, but
yeah,
you know, looking back a handful of years when the games were coming out, when the cartoon was happening, it really was just regular Sonic adjacent.
True.
Sonic as a brand has just become kind of homogenized.
Yeah. It's disconnected, but like in a different way this time.
Yeah, it's not disconnected through different interpretation by different authors. I mean, it kind of still is, but not in the same way.
Yeah.
Weird note to end on.
Yeah.
That does kind of get me thinking. It'd be cool to talk about, like, even more quote-unquote alternative stuff, which would just be the comics and the games sometime. Or the comics and the games, comics and the cartoons, I mean,
even when we were talking about this, there's definitely other Sonic games that we didn't touch upon in this episode that would fall under this category, I think.
Sure. We'll get to it. There's still so much out there on this horizon.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm Crepe. You can find me on Twitter at CrappyBlue.
I'm Mitt. You can find me on Twitter also, except I'm at Mitsumi Mario.
Right, it's a different Twitter.
Yeah.
You can find the show's Twitter at LTASonic. You can back the show on Patreon at patreon.com/LTASonic, and you can check out our site for the show, which has links to all different places you can listen to it at ltasonic.carrd.co. See you in the next zone.